I'm arresting you under suspicion of conspiracy to commit murder.
Oh, come, Sergeant.
You should be ashamed. Calling yourself a community that cares.
Oh, but we do care, Nicholas.
It's all about the greater good.
Hi, welcome to the 3.5 Walls podcast. I'm Austin Zwiebelman.
I'm Jackson Morrill.
I'm Josh Key.
I'm Daniel Green.
And today we're going to be talking about the Edgar Wright movie Hot Fuzz.
I just realized your voice is weird.
What are you talking about, Daniel? I always speak like this.
So deep.
Guys, I'd like to start this podcast with a memorial because we're recording this on September 18th. And 4 days ago, on September 14th, was the anniversary of Patrick Swayze's death, the 11th anniversary.
R.I.P.
It is said that he has simply gone off to the land of Avalon, and he will return when cinema needs him again in its time of greatest need.
He just went home. We were watching it today, and when it got to the scene where they were filming a TV with Point Break on, we made remarks about how weird it is seeing Keanu Reeves sharing the screen with Patrick Swayze. Jackson brought up, it's just...
Keanu Reeves is still somewhere in his mid-30s and has been for the last 20 years, and Patrick Swayze is dead.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the way it works. So, before we get really deep into this, we do have to apologize for our absence over the last week. Basically, Chicken Sandwich Review just took way the hell off. We were invited out to LA, and James Cameron was really trying to convince us that he wanted to purchase the film rights. He offered us money, he offered us women, he offered us fame, fortune, whatever we wanted. But then it got a little strange. He pulled out this weird orb, and he told us the story behind it, that when he was investigating the Titanic, he went down in the submarine with the crew, and they saw something there, but he can't remember what it was. He couldn't describe it with words that he said were in any human tongue. He blacked out. About 8 hours later, they all woke up. The submarine was as if nothing had touched it. He had this orb in his hand, and the rest of the crew had burn marks over their bodies. And they never spoke of this. They just made Titanic, but he's had this orb ever since. He tried to offer it to us in exchange for Chicken Sandwich Review's film rights. When we said no, he just started kind of shaking, and eventually we just had to leave, and we went home after that.
It was really sad. The dude really wanted us to have the orb.
I mean, it looked pretty cool, but...
I gotta say, the weird Cthulhu vibes that were resonating off of it, I was hearing ancient Latin and shit.
I thought I saw blood coming from the walls when he pulled it out.
But Chicken Sandwich Review is our most valuable intellectual property we have right now, so we refuse to sell it.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah, we can't take the orb anyway, because I'm pretty sure that's what inspired Event Horizon.
Oh, I don't want to end up on a spaceship in hell.
I mean, I'd be cool with the spaceship part. The hell part, less so.
Non-negotiable.
So let's talk about my favorite movie in the Cornetto Trilogy, which we haven't even touched on yet.
All right. We're here to talk about the Cornetto Trilogy. And
Shaun of the Dead, I've never seen it. It's pretty great.
Hot Fuzz, we watched it once, and you had a seizure twice, right?
No, but the flash cuts, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the cuts, right? I think they're really cool, but when I watch them, it's like when the magician in an old cartoon is holding the stopwatch around and stuff, and the person gets all hypnotized. It's not like that at all, but it's kind of like that.
Did 2 hours pass in the span of the 15-second montage?
No.
Did you see that little spiral texture that goes over every hypnotized scene?
No, I just saw stars.
Fuck.
So it's more like you just got hit in the head with a frying pan.
Yes, that's the most accurate, actually.
So
okay, you can't see Josh's face, but he actually was oh my god, yeah.
I have this impossibly small list of movies that I can watch and rewatch over and over again, because I know there's more movies than I'll ever be able to see in my entire lifetime, but there are some that are actually worth revisiting. Goodfellas is one that I can just watch over and over again. Hot Fuzz is on that very tiny list of movies that never piss me off when they're on. I will just sit down, watch Hot Fuzz, and go, all right, my day just changed. Yeah. The trajectory of my day is now morphed around watching Hot Fuzz for the 100th time, because this movie is fucking lightning. This movie has the best pacing and the best plot, and the kills are so fucking gory, and I love everything about this.
In the best way. They're so gory.
It's brilliant. It's a testament to just Edgar Wright, what he can do. I haven't looked up budgetary stretching like I did with Shaun of the Dead.
Dig this motherfucker. It was made for 16 million. Ooh. Only 16 million.
I wish I had 16 million.
That's still bigger than Shaun of the Dead. What was that one? Like the
That was like
British
5
equivalent
million
of
or something
4 or 5
stupid.
million?
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead, I remember, was tiny.
Yeah,
and
that
they
was-
basically used the profits from Shaun of the Dead to make Hot Fuzz, right?
Kind of. It's a little more murky than that because a part of it is just studios financing movies, but Edgar is known to dip into his own money to fulfill his projects. Famously in Baby Driver, the entire foot chase scene he paid for out of pocket because Sony wasn't going to pay for it.
Yeah, they had like problems with the song or something, right?
It was a combination of that, and they wanted to cut the movie for time, and the stipulation was, we're not going to pay for it, but we're not forcing you to change the edit, and so Edgar then funded that section of the shoot himself.
Jesus Christ.
God
that's so
bless.
cool.
Sony
I
makes
love
good
him.
decisions
Yeah.
in the film world.
Wait,
They really make incredible decisions. Like, I've never seen a company that makes as sound strategic decisions as Sony.
Free Spider-Man.
I'm being fucked, right?
No, like,
Please?
no,
Emoji
like
movie.
removing the only good Spider-Man movies from the MCU and never making any more of them, even though they make like billions of dollars, just because, you know, Disney wants some of the profit, is like perfect move. You got to show that you're top dog and bring back Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. Oh, God.
The
But whenever-
emoji move.
Whenever I think of Sony, the first thing that comes to my mind is that they pissed off the North Korean government so bad that a fuckload of their internal emails got leaked. I
Forgot about that.
Yeah!
Yeah, The Interview is a film that existed, but back to the topic of movies that aren't Sony.
Movies that made $80 million on a fucking $16 million budget and are better than everything in America that's come out for like fucking the whole decade since this thing's been out as far as cop movies are concerned. I mean, what do we have? Bright?
We have Fairy Lives Don't Matter Today and another Bad Boys that is not out yet.
Oh yeah, Fat Martin Lawrence. I'm so excited.
You can't really make cop movies.
Right?
It's a little bit of a touchy subject, but when it's the British police, which aren't known for rampant racism across the whole country, which I'm sure there is still rampant racism across the whole country because that's just the way that ethnocentric societies work, but...
Fucking crazy. Yeah, British police are a little bit less touchy because they usually need a reason to pull out a gun on people, and this movie has one of the best fucking leads up to a shootout. It's Simon Pegg just coming into frame on a fucking horse with a bunch of guns and shit. Or no, he like rams his car into another dude's car. The action in this movie is fucking nuts.
Oh yeah, it's extremely well executed and really funny when you take a look at it because it has such a build-up of a really proper whodunit, and then the whodunit turns out to just be the biggest red herring in the entire film.
Well, they pull a Murder on the Orient Express, that thing where they're just like, okay, well, it's more than one killer, and then it turns out to be an absurd amount of killers.
And all of them except for Timothy Dalton are like Shakespeare acting bait because the BBC is known for Doctor Who and making Shakespeare plays into teledramas.
Yep.
So every one of those actors was known for just like Shakespearean roles except for Timothy Dalton.
What I love is just like Simon Pegg is introduced. Like he's kind of just dropped into everything, but at the same time we just get so much. Yeah, it kind of breaks the rule of like show don't tell. Like they basically just tell us everything, but like
It's in the interest of getting to the main plot as quickly as possible and
Yeah,
getting out of London.
I mean, yeah, you can't necessarily make like a prequel because that would just be boring as hell, right? We just kind of have to get to the point, and they do it in a pretty comedic way, but also at the same time, it's still action packed, and I love how they say literally the bare minimum because that's kind of also all he is. He's literally just the stereotypical cop. And yeah, eventually he becomes like an actual person.
Bilbo Baggins is in the beginning as like a desk jockey with the London Police Department.
They have the best throwaway casting there. They have Martin Freeman, then they have
Stephen Merchant, I think.
Stephen Merchant, and then Bill Nighy to top off this trio of just like really big name British celebrities acting against Simon Pegg, who was still a small fry in 2007. 2007 was the same year as Mission Impossible 3, so...
When did Star Trek come out?
Star Trek was 2009. But yeah, one thing that makes that opening montage so good is something that Edgar's really fond of doing, which is taking these, what would be really expensive scenes, shooting a little bit of them, and turning them into a montage. So you feel like there's whole scenes that were really expensive and shot really well, when in reality it's one or two shots, like where he's holding a riot shield with a bunch of other people as there are Molotov cocktails and fires on the ground being thrown at him. And he's just wading through it. That's 2 or 3 shots for something that could have been a really big scene, and they just show us a tiny bit of it, and it only gets better. His montages come out the best in this film, I think.
Ever watching Simon Pegg go around with the Japanese peace lily and just like be sitting at a subway station taking a train with a plant?
Oh, there's so many cool references in this movie. Like the weird lone killer with a plant has been a thing since this weird French New Wave-ish crime movie called Le Samurai. Mm-hmm. That the professional with Leon, Natalie Portman, and Gary Oldman, of course, was almost a remake of that movie. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, it's been referenced in shit ever since, like this. Everyone!
Oh God, it's constant. Just to add to it, if we're just going to keep continuing from the beginning, we get that fantastic montage at the beginning, the powerhouse of these 3 big British names that are just basically shoving Simon Pegg away from London. And then this
for being too good at his job.
This awesome transition. For being,
I love the progression, because in the last movie, Shaun was this massive fuck up, and then this movie starts with him getting fired because he's too good at his fucking job.
Technically not fired, just transferred to a different place.
They give him the Japanese firing.
Yeah. But, I mean, it works really well, and it sets up a device for him to just constantly be doing stuff. This movie also makes really good use of the brick joke in some of my favorite ways. I think the best one is you constantly see him working a hand grip thing, as Josh is aware of, to build back up his strength after he had a hand stabbing through.
By a man dressed as Father Christmas.
And at the end, he just grips someone's arm with that hand, and it's an iron grip because of it. It's hilarious. There's just constantly stuff like that bouncing about this movie, and I do highly recommend you see it. It's personally probably only my second favorite. I think that the quality of the Cornetto Trilogy does escalate in a weird way. I'm also a sucker for sci-fi, so The World's End is the top of my list for a myriad of reasons, but that's later, not now.
I like how this has horror elements, and that was like my wheelhouse when I started. Like the first movies that I really got into was like my dad sitting me down and watching The Thing with me, the original Saw movie. So like horror was my wheelhouse when I was an edgy little shithead. And then I see Hot Fuzz and I get to have like the best of both worlds. It's like this bro comedy that you can like fucking chill out and watch, and then a spike drops on a person.
Right.
And their head explodes.
Or there's somebody with a violent beheading, and it's something that's always present in Edgar's films, but this one focuses on it the most. You could argue The World's End does, but it's very different because of the way that it's handled.
I gotta say, when I was a little dude, the just like crazy over-the-top gore was a thing that really attracted me to this movie. And then, you know, as you keep going on, there's like no part of your life where Hot Fuzz gets worse. It just keeps getting better. Because this movie's like staring into a black hole. The longer you observe Hot Fuzz, the more things where you go, oh, they did think of that. Mm-hmm. They did take account of like if we could fit that other visual gag in. Like,
I think the Fridge Brilliance page in Hot Fuzz on TV Tropes is about twice as long as any other film I've seen.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you guys are aware that this was like their Goodfellas. Basically, they made Shaun of the Dead because they were like, fuck it. It kind of worked that one time when we were filming Space or whatever. They were like, we know we can probably pull off a zombie thing. Horror is a safe place to start from a genre and like programming perspective. But they really wanted to make Hot Fuzz.
Wasn't Hot Fuzz one of Edgar's short films during his college years?
It's based off one of his short films.
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz was the passion project.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say with like the horror and like cop movie aspect, there's like a million different genres that's all blended into this movie. It's absolutely glorious. It's like a noir buddy cop horror movie
mixed with whodunit.
Mixed with comedy. A million different kinds of comedy too. Yeah. Even like physical comedy, like old school 20s style physical comedy, which is really hard to pull off in live action because like if you've ever watched Live Leak videos, it just ruins all that stuff for you because you're like, that would have killed that guy, right? Which is why I appreciate the church part a lot because that really captured the feel of watching a Live Leak video.
Oh my god.
But the noir elements were really great because like with all the whole complex subplot with all of the murder mysteries and stuff, like that is just ripped straight out of a noir movie, like from Raymond Chandler, like The Big Sleep, where there's this huge complex plot that they don't care about you understanding. And they, like, really don't care about you understanding it in Hot Fuzz, and it's very understated, but it is a joke in it, I think. Where, like, they explain this random-ass land grab plot so fast that, like, if you really think about what they're doing with it from a meta perspective, it's hilarious.
But also, at the end, it's just subverted when they finally have all the cards on the table. It's just like, oh no, they're annoying people, and we didn't like them, so we murdered them.
Yeah, it's just we wanted to make... Okay, I want to say one thing, so, one thing that's really spooked me was what's the name of the town again?
Sanford.
Yeah. When the chief of police is like reveals everything, and the phrase that he says is he wants to make Sanford great again.
Yeah, that ain't like warm milk, my guys.
Yeah, that spooked me. But then I just think it's funny how it's just, oh, we don't like this one thing about our town, so we're just going to just get rid of them. Like, we're going to wipe them off the face of the earth. They're just gone, and then that's just it.
We can have an entire, like, fridge realization section in this podcast about this movie.
Oh, yeah, there's a reason there's no recorded murders for the history. It's because the chief of police doesn't record the murder.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, like, the reason they're, like, telling him not to, like, arrest all the kids for, like, underage drinking and shit is because they feel obligated to murder people that get charged with any kind of crime.
Yeah.
And then you see him wandering through the crypt with all of these random people that he's, like, given citations that are all just dead.
Except for the human statue, who they
he's
just
dead.
don't like.
He just dies looking different than you die, okay?
Well, yeah,
I
it's
mean,
because they didn't like him.
Yeah, but it's less about he was written down for a crime and more because they didn't like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Killed a woman for having an annoying laugh.
Yes.
Killed one guy because they didn't like his acting.
The only one that's like a legitimate...
That acting was atrocious, though.
It was.
Yes.
It was. Holy
That
shit.
haircut was a fucking war crime.
Yeah.
I've met people like that.
Me too.
Like,
yeah. I did theater in high school, Josh, so yeah.
oh God, where before the weeding out process, when people are just there for the catty drama and not like the actual hard work, I interacted with the theater kids.
Yeah.
I was still less cool than them, but like...
All of your high school adventures, which if one day you're willing to disclose any of them in a legal sense, we could have a whole podcast over.
Oh my God.
All of those sound way cooler than anything theater kids at my school did.
We weren't theater kids. We were nothing kids.
Exactly.
We were just the depression circle, right?
So things haven't changed too much around here.
But we never made a big deal about it, like the emo or scene kids, right? We're just depressed, right? We don't have to.
You listen to
very
folk music.
understated.
That's what the dude in the play looked like. He looked like one of those scene kids who like never shut it off and just grew up instead of refusing. I know he was cast as a fucking thespian type, but that hair screamed scene kid.
Have you ever seen the Great British Baking Show?
I've seen one episode. It was a very pleasant lullaby.
I watched that when I was recovering from surgery for like 5 days straight. And it's a great show to watch if you're feeling down because nothing bad ever happens on cooking shows. But there is one guy who's really nice on it, right? He's like a musician, I can't remember his name. But he looks like an aged emo.
Oh no.
He still has the dyed like raven black hair, but he's obviously in like his late 30s, early 40s. And like hasn't been taking care of himself very well. I love the guy, but it's like you gotta find a different look after you turn like 16.
His pickup line is still RAR XD.
Oh God. And it's like, I love the guy, and I feel bad saying it, but for like his own good, you gotta get a different haircut, man.
This is for you. I know you listen to our podcast.
Right?
Yeah, you are our
ever,
10th view
yeah,
on
like,
our Shaun of the Dead
dude,
podcast.
I'm a huge fan. I love you. You helped me through a really tough time, and as a friend, I just want to say that I don't think your haircut's working. I'm not trying to shame anyone here. I'm just saying, like, it's not great.
So what you're saying is we all need to form a conspiracy and murder this person.
Jamie, cut this out. Jamie, we'll just email this to him personally.
The greater good.
The greater good.
Greater good.
I guess I'll just get axe murdered now.
No, it's Jamie that's getting axe murdered. We didn't like his haircut.
All right.
Regardless, there's a whole lot of things to talk about in Hot Fuzz, and there's not a lot because I don't have the Blu-ray. I didn't get to dig into any of the commentaries like some other films that we've watched. But I did find an interesting piece of trivia, which was that originally there was a love interest for Sergeant Angel, Simon Pegg's character, and eventually it got axed from the film because it felt too convoluted, and then most of those lines were given with 0 changes to Nick Frost's character.
What the fuck?
That is why almost all of the beats of a love story are in Hot Fuzz.
Because I kept saying, like, Nick Frost's character needs to fall in love with Simon Pegg's character at the end.
I think
it needed to happen.
I think they do, but yeah, they just gave almost all of those lines to
I love it.
character.
10 out of 10.
That's actually
incredible.
Possibly the best part of this movie is that it's not that they didn't have a romantic subplot. They technically did. They just combined it with the bromance with the buddy cop to save time, and it was like
So good.
It interweaved very well.
It's like the romantic subplot is always like the worst studio required thing in any script, or for people that don't know what to write for a B plot and are like bashing their heads against the wall, so they're like, fuck, we'll just throw like a shitty love story in there too.
Yeah.
And this movie just didn't have one except for the bromance, which could be a romance, and it's the best kind of bromance.
We know it blossomed. It's a whole year later. They're definitely.
They're fucking.
In a way, that's another way this movie's ahead of its time, because we're seeing that more and more now with like Good Omens.
I
haven't gotten a chance to get around to that.
Good Omens is incrable.
I've heard it's really good.
So like,
Terry
it's
Pratchett,
Michael Sheen, who I know from Twilight, which I know is like not a great thing to know him for. That's like saying I know Christopher Lee from like The Last Unicorn or something like that. But like Michael Sheen as it's like an episode of Doctor Who that's really long basically, but instead of sci-fi it's angels and demons.
So it's the Da Vinci Code Part 6.
And then there's David Tennant literally playing the Doctor, but a bit more evil as a demon that always wears John Lennon shades.
The Doctor.
And then there's Michael Sheen, who's playing like a gay librarian in the same role. And it's just incredible. And they have the best romance probably romance of like all time throughout the entire
I know for
thing.
a fact that David Tennant in an interview said that they did a bunch of research which included reading /fiction of the characters to get ready for Good Omens.
Oh no.
And then I think that show is technically ahead of its time, but I guess it's also in its time, where they really just did away with gender binary for all of the portrayals. And they went for a unisex approach towards the character writing and performances.
Yeah.
Which is good. But, I mean, reeling this back to Hot Fuzz, why did I say retailing this?
There's penetration.
That's what she said.
Yeah, man. Fucking Nick Frost stabs a guy.
No, he doesn't.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, he does the ketchup.
He fake stabs Simon Pegg.
He
But
didn't
there's
actually
still
stab him.
penetration.
Into a ketchup packet.
It's just the tip.
He makes
Just
him,
the tip.
He makes him squirt ketchup.
just the tip, yeah.
Favorite scene in what's your favorite scene in the movie?
Oh, that is such a hard one.
That's what she said.
Are we really going to just continue this gag?
Nope. Everybody else got one. I wanted to join.
That's fair.
It was just me that got one.
all right, Josh Jackson, you better be on guard.
You both get one free. That's what
Daniel,
she said.
that's what she said. I just got one.
Fine.
Fuck!
That's
Jackson,
you really
that's
wasted your only one on that?
Yeah, what the fuck,
That
man?
was a waste, man.
That's what she said isn't my joke. My joke is Juvie nickname.
I know, but we gave you one free. That's what she said, where we wouldn't make fun of you, and that's what you wasted on.
And then you were making fun of him.
Yes, of course I am.
You're defying the rules. This is not the agreement.
You've altered the deal.
It's...
Fine, you get one more.
God damn it.
You're the one that started this debacle.
We're entering an event horizon.
Yes.
Regardless,
Anyway.
trying to reel this back instead of retail this back, I really don't know because all of Hot Fuzz is so enjoyable. I'll just say the fence gag because that's the safest and it's probably the most entertainingly executed. Where I feel like it really was Simon Pegg did the first one, and then a stuntman did the second one, and then the third one, it was just like another stuntman, and they're not even the same person doing all three of the jumps because he jumps off a springboard and flips over the last one. Only for Nick Frost to immediately just fucking barrel right through the fence.
That was incredible.
The one I remember getting advertised the most when I was a kid was basically, stop all this mindless violence. Just this fucking priest who's just packing dual fucking Glocks.
Yeah, like with the taxi driver rigs.
Yeah. He does have taxi driver rigs, and originally the script wrote him as a Buddhist monk. Hence the fuck off grasshopper line.
Oh my god.
And it would have been way funnier if a Buddhist monk just pulls dual pistols out of his sleeves, but eventually it was modified because the setting of rural London lent to a priest better.
Yeah, that is like a trope that I wish was in more movies because it's like this and Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, where that one priest is just like, I kick ass for the Lord. You know, like there need to be more priests doing violence.
They did make a noir movie, mystery movie about monks in medieval England, I think, called In the Name of the Rose, and it stars Sean Connery as the Sherlock Holmes character.
What?
And Christian Slater as the Watson.
Oh man, that's a weird ass couple to think of.
Yeah.
Guys, I just picture Christian Slater as the same in every movie. He's always just this guy, you know, like in every single movie.
I feel bad because I look like Christian Slater if he didn't have bad eyebrows.
Yeah, but you're not smirking all the time.
I just smirked. This is an audio medium.
Oh
Just trust
god.
me.
Jesus Christ, that was a horrifying face to look at. Oh, don't do it again. So, we're going to the third act where fuck off grasshopper line comes in. It's kind of incredible, and it's something that I did not pick up the first time we watched this movie, but the second, which was today, and it's because you pointed it out. It's basically just emulating a shootout from Bad Boys.
Yeah, Michael Bay's editing style, like you said.
It's Michael Bay's editing style combined with like his shot style. There's the famous rotating shot is just way overused in that scene deliberately.
Oh yeah, where it circles around them.
The only thing that Edgar fucked up with is he didn't have Nick Frost and Simon Pegg rise into frame.
They also didn't have helicopters going over Iraq.
Oh, that's fair. That's in the deleted scenes. One thing that I kind of love about this movie is, well, first off, the entire third act is just wild, but it ends with no casualties. There's some very grievous injuries.
Yes, especially the...
Not only did the spire impales Timothy Dalton. That's horrifying.
Every time I watch that,
I was genuinely upset the first time, as Austin knows, when he's alive after that.
Oh yeah,
That was my favorite scene, actually, was the scene where he like saves the kid from the guy, and the guy gets his mouth, like jaw impaled on the thing in the most brutal way possible. And the kid's just standing right there. And the rest of the movie's tone, they're just playing it off like this is totally cool, when in real life that kid would be so fucking traumatized by this. Because the guy's like bleeding and gargling and like trying to talk and like trying to get help.
asking for ice cream.
Yeah, and then like Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are having their like weird Point Break moment. Like buddy, like high five kind of thing, and you're like, there's something brutal happening in the background here.
That's very Edgar Wright, though.
Yeah.
It's kind of, always the moment to underplay and overplay.
Yes.
And it's one of the things that I liked about Shaun of the Dead, and I like it here, is that all of the jokes have a degree of undercutting, but never enough to kill the mood of the tension moment.
because like right after that scene where he gets impaled, the chief of police is like holding Nick Frost, and then
they reenact Point Break.
Yeah, then they reenact Point Break, and then he gets in the car and is about to drive away.
And he's like, should we go after him? I don't think he's getting anywhere. And then there's like a 15-second shot of him just driving off into a country field before like gently running into a tree.
Well, it's because the swan that that they've been alluding to this entire movie, and then they finally capture bathroom, like right before this huge scene in this miniature town, right? I guess that's your Michael Bay where they destroy landmarks. They just destroy miniature versions of it.
They destroyed the mini town.
Yeah, they destroy the mini town, right? So there you go. There's your Michael Bay shot.
Giant monsters destroying a mini town.
Yes, it's just Godzilla in London.
So that's another genre that this movie is. It's a Godzilla film.
Yeah, it's a Godzilla film. But yeah, so they finally catch the swan, right? And then it attacks him, and then because of that, he just runs into a tree.
It's funny because it's only at like 15 miles an hour too, so it's such a gentle impact.
It's incredible. I love it. It's so funny. I think that's like one of my favorite scenes. It's, oh my gosh.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Apparently they also had the same guy playing the two desk sergeants. I thought it was two actors, but it's the same guy.
Oh, sweet.
And there's a gag in there where they're both reading novels, one by an Ian Banks and one by an Ian M. Banks. Same author, just different. He, for whatever reason, wrote some novels with the M in his name. So it's the same actor, but they're different people.
It's really funny. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, the things he pulled from trivia.
That is such a bullshit Heisenberg routine, you know? Like, you're off to go do some, like, fucked up shit, and you're like, my name's not Austin right now. I'm Austin J. Weeble.
Hey, I have to do that until I get more, like, Wikipedia citations, because Joshua Key is the name of, like, a really famous Iraq war deserter who wrote a book. And whenever you Google him, you get like a page full of his face, and then there's a Wikipedia page at the top with like 20 references on it, on his article. And like when I found that out, when I was like going through and like how should I credit myself, I just put my head in my hands and it's like, oh, what the fuck do I do?
I mean, I have a shoe company.
Daniel Green shoes.
Yeah, there's like a Dale Green like slipper company or shoe company.
I'm buying you a pair of those for every birthday just to fuck you up.
Daniel Greenstein.
Oh my god. Okay, so we work at the same job, right? I'm a delivery driver. I delivered to someone. I kid you not. Their name was Daniel Greenstein.
Instead of Daniel Green.
Is it just Jewish you?
Yeah.
The nose is slightly smaller, believe it or not.
You can cut that out. I don't care.
You might have to. That's the closest to an anti-Semitic joke we've had in these podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's okay. You're Jewish.
We have a Jewish friend. It's okay.
I don't know. I just think that we should just call Israel occupied Palestine.
Okay, that's getting cut out.
The last time I said something was getting cut out, it stayed in.
Oh yeah, because the person with Final Cut is the most bipolar person here. Oh.
Well, the reason you make all these jokes that cut that out is so people don't know when you actually cut something out.
Exactly.
Right.
Damn.
Yeah. One of these days we'll just have like an editing stream when Austin can actually run more than one program on his computer without it melting.
Hey man, I'm saving up for a computer that's not from 2011. It's a slow process because I want one that can create Skynet. What's the point of buying a new computer if it can't do Skynet?
Well, hey, Bitcoin crashed, so you could actually afford a GPU.
Fucking choice.
This is good for Bitcoin, though.
Is it creating Skynet or affording GPUs?
That's a meme. Everything's good for Bitcoin according to Reddit. Even when it crashes, it's good for Bitcoin. It'll come back.
So welcome to our crypto podcast.
Sell.
Yang Gang 2020.
I want my $1,000.
Yeah, vote Andrew Yang.
Let's not try to influence. I think we could get slapped with a citation for that.
Vote for Hillary. She killed Vince Foster. You might have a long edit in front of you.
It's a long edit every time, isn't it?
Yeah. It's all right, you know. Like I picked up some cheap speed from a homeless guy, and so now I'm just gonna be just fucking railing lines of 12 Mule Team Borax, and hopefully, you know, getting a decent sounding cut of this.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea, Austin.
My life decisions are to be emulated.
Edit on drugs. That's the best idea I have ever heard. Amphetamines, too. Just cook up some meth and start editing your podcast. That's just how...
You might have teeth left by the end if you're fast enough.
It is Missouri.
It is Missouri.
The greater good. So Hot Fuzz, it succeeds as a comedy. It succeeds as an action movie. It'll show you how to develop a proper bromance. This movie is just good all around. It's healthy for you.
Its writing is just fantastic. I mean, if you're scared of like gore, you might be in for a rough ride the first time, but grow up, you'll get used to it.
It's got lots of really it's got lots of really light stuff in it. It's got like puns about names.
Yes.
Like everybody's name is like Cox or something.
No other movie has a extreme close-up of somebody in blue pen neatly writing the word cock on a piece of paper. Nor do they have Doris, the police officer, wearing fake tits.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was... I've seen this movie like 3 times, right? But it was only this last time that I watched it with you guys where I just noticed, why the fuck is she wearing fake tits? It's just weird.
Andy did say... I keep calling him Andy, too. There's 2 other Andys in this film. The 2 detectives are both first named Andy. Which makes it really confusing, because I can never remember Nick Frost's character's name, so I just call him Andy. So anyway, Nick Frost's character did say he saw her tits once, but then there's that, so it leaves you to wonder which one.
God, who knows?
Also, back to the detectives, the one that wasn't Paddy Considine was such a big fan of Paddy Considine as an actor and was like thrilled to work beside him as like part of a duo the whole movie. And so in an interview, he was just like, oh, I love Paddy Considine. I would say he's my favorite actor. I love the chance to work with him and all this. And then Paddy Considine was also doing the interview, but he stayed in character and is just like, I have no idea who the fuck this other guy is. He's just following me around.
Oh, no.
God.
It's just being a dick about it the whole interview. It's great.
God.
Oh, man.
So next time we're tackling your favorite movie. Are you prepared?
No, but I will slowly be prepared over the course of this next week. It's just one of those things where I'm going to have to brush up on every piece of knowledge, and it's going to be a wild ride. I do hope that I can make somebody appreciate this movie just a little bit more, because it really is my favorite movie of all time. Not just out of the Cornetto Trilogy. I think that we've said everything there is to say.
Yeah, I'm like, this was a mess.
That's the thing with Hot Fuzz, is that it's so good in small chunks that it's hard to pick up on any one thing and talk about how brilliant it is.
You can give a little bit of the trivia behind the scenes, but none of us have the Blu-ray for some reason, so we didn't really just listen to this.
It like just got off Netflix the minute we decided that we were going to do the Cornetto Trilogy. It was perfect. It was great. Thanks, Netflix.
It was beautiful. Yeah. Hashtag thanks, Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix did it for the greater good.
The greater good.
Greater good.
And with that, we will see you next time when we cover Shaun of the Dead.
What?
No!